Imagine, for just a moment, stripping away your calendar apps, your complex productivity hacks,
Right.
and, those blaring morning alarms. Imagine, instead, trusting your entire day to the vocabulary of a beginner's English textbook.
It really does sound like a recipe for getting absolutely nothing done, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, it goes against everything we're taught about efficiency.
Yeah.
But hidden inside this very simple language lesson is actually an accidental biological masterclass in completely rewiring your nervous system for peace.
Yeah.
So, welcome to today's deep dive. Today, we are slowing everything right down.
We really are.
Our source material today is unique text from a program called The Daily Path. It's a session titled Our Quiet Daily Routine, and it's designed for absolute beginners, A1 to A2 level English learners.
Just the basics.
Exactly. We have two speakers in it, Laura and Thomas, and they're just discussing their day using only basic vocabulary in the present simple tense.
And by doing that, by stripping away the complex grammar, the professional jargon, and just the general noise of advanced communication.
Yeah. Laura and Thomas inadvertently provide this profound blueprint for slow living. We're looking at a day governed entirely by sensory details and very deliberate pacing.
Because the mission here isn't just to learn English.
No, not at all.
It's to unpack this hyper-simplified, step-by-step routine. We want to discover how fixing your attention on those basic elements of your environment can actually offer a concrete strategy for grounding yourself, especially in this increasingly frantic world you and I live in.
Right. It's about setting a foundation.
So let's pull back the curtain on how they actually start their morning, because it's entirely devoid of the digital panic that, most of us were so used to.
It's remarkably quiet.
Listen to the specific details from the source. Laura says, the sun rises early. And Thomas says, I open my eyes.
Just that simple observation.
Yeah, they immediately shift their focus outward, right to their senses. Laura points out that the birds sing softly outside. Thomas hears the gentle wind. Then they move to the kitchen,
Where things stay just as grounded. Exactly. Laura says, I make warm tea. Thomas notes, the kitchen smells like lemon. And finally, Laura says, we sit in silence.
Notice what is conspicuously absent from that entire sequence.
The phone.
The phone. There is no mention of a digital device. There's no news broadcast, no scrolling, no immediate engagement with the demands of other people.
To me, this slow morning routine feels a lot like letting an old school photograph slowly develop in a dark room.
Oh, I love that analogy.
Yeah, you place the photo paper into the chemical bath and you just watch. First, there's nothing.
Just blank space.
Right. Then very slowly, the shadows begin to appear. Then the basic shapes. The image gradually comes into focus entirely on its own timeline. You're letting the day develop through your senses. First, the sound of the birds, then the smell of the lemon tea.
Then the physical warmth of the cup.
Yes, exactly. Compare that to how most of us wake up, which is, it's like instantly snapping a bright, jarring digital picture with the flash firing right in your eyes.
And that digital flash is a profound shock to the human nervous system.
It hurts just thinking about it.
It really does. Biologically speaking, the way you transition from sleep to waking, it sets a chemical baseline for your entire day.
So when we grab the phone right away,
When you wake up and immediately look at your phone to check emails or the news, you are instantly activating your amygdala. That's the brain's threat detection center.
wow.
You are literally flooding your body with cortisol before your feet have even touched the floor.
Which explains that sort of low-level dread we all feel in the morning.
Exactly. But when you anchor yourself in simple present tense observations like smelling the lemon, feeling the warmth of the tea, you're routing your brain's attention network away from the amygdala.
Where does it go instead?
You're directing it to the somatosensory cortex.
The part of the brain that only processes physical, present moment sensations.
Right. And that specific shift is critical. Your somatosensory cortex cannot worry about a 2 p.m. meeting. It doesn't know what an inbox is.
It only knows the warmth of the tea.
In this exact second, yes. By spending those first few minutes actively noticing the wind or the smell of lemon, you are sending a very potent biological signal of safety to your nervous system.
You're essentially telling your brain that there is no immediate threat.
Precisely. You're establishing a baseline of calm that makes you far more resilient to the stressors that will, inevitably come later in the day.
It's like, think of it less like booting up a high-speed computer and more like starting a vintage mechanical engine.
Yes.
You have to let it warm up. You have to listen to it idle for a minute before you put it in gear and hit the accelerator.
It needs time.
But Holding on to that internal stillness is easy when you're just sitting in your quiet kitchen with a cup of tea.
True.
The real stress test for your nervous system happens the moment you have to put down that cup, step out the front door, and face the wider world. The transition from the private sanctuary to the public sphere, well, that's usually where the calm completely shatters.
Which brings us to the commute. In modern life, traveling to work is universally viewed as a high-stress chore. It is a period of rushed obligation.
Everybody's always late.
Right. But the text from the Daily Path, however, frames this travel as a mindful stroll.
Let's look at their sequence here. Because Thomas says, I put on my coat. Laura says, we walk to the station. And again, they return immediately to the senses.
They do.
Thomas says, the air feels cold. Laura observes, the grass has wet dew. They see a red bus. They walk step by step. And Thomas notes, no one is rushing today.
The contrast between their internal state and the typical commuter state is just striking.
Wait, I have to challenge this practically for a second.
Go ahead.
Thomas is stopping to notice wet dew on the grass during his morning commute.
Yeah.
I mean, if I tried doing that on my way to work, I'd miss my train. My inbox would pile up and I'd ruin my entire morning. It feels a bit utopian, doesn't it?
I can see why you'd say that.
How does noticing dew or feeling the cold air actually help someone who has a strict 9 a.m. clock-in and a highly unpredictable transit system?
Well, it sounds unrealistic until you examine the psychology of the internal rush.
Okay, unpack that for me.
The anxiety of a commute almost always stems from the brain projecting into the future. You are physically on the sidewalk, sure, but mentally, you're already sitting at your desk apologizing for being late.
Oh, guilty as charged. I do that every day.
We all do. This is your brain's default mode network, just running wild with future tripping. What Laura and Thomas are doing by utilizing environmental anchors, like the cold air on their skin or the specific visual of the wet dew, is forcing their cognition back into the present tense.
Because you cannot feel the cold air in the future.
Exactly.
You can only experience it right now.
They are decoupling their physical speed from their mental speed. You can walk briskly to catch a train without adopting a frantic, panicked internal state.
That is such an important distinction. The rush is internal.
Yes. The rush is often an internal choice. It's an emotional reaction to external pressure. Imagine running on a treadmill versus running outdoors on a quiet trail. The physical exertion might be exactly the same, but the psychological experience of being forced to keep up with a machine is deeply stressful.
Wow, yeah.
By grounding themselves in the sensory reality of the red bus and the cold air, they are taking themselves off the treadmill. They walk step by step, taking ownership of their own pacing.
And arriving at their destination without that massive adrenaline spike, it means they haven't completely drained their cognitive reserves before they even sit down at their desks.
Exactly. They still have energy left.
Which brings us to the office environment itself. This is where most people abandon any pretense of mindfulness and just surrender to the chaos.
Absolutely.
But Laura and Thomas maintain their focus. Laura says, we arrive at work. Thomas says, I sit at my desk. Laura says, I write my book. And then Thomas points out this fascinating auditory detail.
Oh, yes, I love this part.
He says, computers click very softly. Laura adds, we work with focus. Thomas says, we drink fresh water. And Laura concludes, the afternoon is very calm.
Computers click very softly. That single observation holds the secret to sustaining attention in a demanding environment.
But how does fixating on such a trivial background noise help with deep focus?
Right.
I mean, if you have 20 browser tabs open, unread messages popping up everywhere, and a looming deadline, shouldn't you be ignoring the background noise to focus entirely on the massive project in front of you?
It seems logical, but the problem with focusing exclusively on the massive project is cognitive overload.
Okay.
When you stare at a mountain of complex, abstract tasks, the brain's executive function easily becomes overwhelmed.
It just shuts down.
Pretty much. And when the brain is overwhelmed, it seeks an escape route, which usually manifests as distraction, picking up your phone, checking social media, looking out the window.
Right.
By noticing gentle, continuous micro-actions in their physical environment, like the soft click, click, click of a keyboard, they anchor their attention.
So next time you have those 20 tabs open and you feel that familiar chest-tightening panic, the strategy isn't to stare harder at the screen.
No.
It's to look down at your hands. Listen to the physical rhythmic click of your own mouse. Use that tiny physical reality to pull your nervous system out of the digital overwhelm.
Beautifully said. Those micro-actions act as a metronome for the mind. The soft clicks provide a steady, predictable auditory rhythm.
And the water.
The simple act of drinking fresh water serves as a deliberate, mindful pause. It momentarily resets the brain's attention network.
It breaks things up.
Right. Instead of conceptualizing the afternoon as a chaotic block of endless demands, they break it down into present simple actions. I write in my book, I drink fresh water. It is a radical commitment to single tasking.
They aren't trying to do 5 things at once.
No.
They are doing one thing with total physical presence, utilizing their environment to keep them anchored.
And it works.
Because they manage to sustain this calm, steady focus throughout the afternoon, they don't reach the end of the day feeling hollowed out. The routine doesn't end with an exhausted crash on the couch. It naturally shifts into deliberate downregulation.
The symmetry of this routine is really crucial. The way you transition out of your workday dictates the quality of your rest.
Which in turn dictates the quality of your next morning.
Precisely.
We follow them into the evening wind down, and it begins with a sensory return home. Thomas says, we walk back home. Laura says, the stars look bright.
So peaceful.
Thomas says, we cook hot soup. Laura says, the house is warm. The day began with the early sun and warm tea, and it concludes with the bright stars and hot soup. The physical environment provides the cues for the nervous system to finally power down.
And then they introduce a specific habit to finalize that downregulation.
This is my absolute favorite detail from the entire source text.
That's brilliant.
It's a masterclass in minimal reflective journaling. Thomas says, I open my small notebook. Laura says, I write one short sentence.
Just one.
And Thomas reads what they wrote. Today felt steady and peaceful. Just one short sentence to summarize the entire day.
That single sentence serves a very specific psychological function. We typically process our days by engaging in intense rumination, don't we?
Oh, absolutely.
We lay in bed replaying conversations, analyzing mistakes, judging the day by extreme metrics. We ask ourselves if the day was a massive triumph or a complete disaster.
We expect every day to be a peak experience, and if it isn't, we feel like we failed somehow.
Exactly. But aiming for a day that is simply steady and peaceful offers a sustainable, achievable baseline.
It's gentle.
Very gentle. Furthermore, the constraint of writing just one short sentence forces you to synthesize your experience. When you try to journal every single detail of a stressful day, you inadvertently force your brain to relive the stress. You keep the cognitive loops wide open.
Think about writing that single short sentence in a small notebook, like placing a deliberate dark period at the very end of a long, rambling paragraph.
It's a great image.
Throughout the day, your mind generates thousands of chaotic thoughts, worries, and ideas. That one short sentence forces closure.
It does.
It puts a hard boundary on the day, signaling to your brain that the paragraph is finished. It prevents all those daytime anxieties from spilling over onto the next page and ruining your sleep.
It definitively closes the cognitive loop. The notebook is small, the sentence is short, the cognitive work of the day is done.
This deliberate, single-sentence closure beautifully mirrors the overarching philosophy of the entire text. Which brings us to the final section and the meta-context of this deep dive.
The language learning aspect.
Yes, remember, underneath the mindfulness and the sensory details, this is an English language learning tool. At the very end of the session, Laura and Thomas break the fourth wall to offer some gentle encouragement directly to the learner.
Right.
Laura says, "You did very well today." Thomas smiles and says, "English takes time." Laura says, "Small steps are good." And Thomas finishes with, "Listen again tomorrow."
English takes time. Small steps are good. Those principles are the foundation of any lasting behavioral change.
It's fascinating how directly those language learning tips apply to absolutely any broader life goal.
Oh, completely.
But, in a world that constantly demands immediate results, life hacks, and massive leaps forward, it is incredibly difficult for us to genuinely accept that small steps are good. We view small steps as this agonizingly slow obstacle in the way of our real goals.
We reject small steps because we are conditioned to celebrate the finish line rather than the act of walking.
We want the fluency without the awkward practice.
We want the peaceful mind without the patience required to build it. Think about the way water carves a canyon.
Okay.
It isn't the sheer violent force of a single massive flood that shapes the rock. It is the gentle, daily, relentless repetition of the stream.
So the repetition isn't a sign that you are failing to make progress.
Not at all. Repetition is the mechanism of progress. Listen again tomorrow is an invitation to view your daily routine as an ongoing practice rather than a test you have to pass perfectly today. Whether you are learning a new language, trying to stop future tripping on your commute, or using the soft clicks of a keyboard to find focus at work, the secret lies in accepting that it takes time. The small steps are not delaying the journey.
They are the journey.
Exactly. The small steps are the journey.
Let's just take a moment to look back at the gentle path we have walked today.
Let's do that.
We started with the sensory awakening, using the smell of lemon tea and the gentle wind to slowly bring the day into focus, routing our attention away from anxiety and into the physical present.
Then we navigated the commute by decoupling our internal pacing from external pressures. We used the cold air and the visual of the red bus to anchor ourselves, just step by step.
We tackled the cognitive overload of the modern workspace by relying on the auditory metronome of soft computer clicks and the deliberate pause of drinking fresh water to maintain our calm focus.
Finally, we returned home under the bright stars, using the constraint of a single written sentence to close the cognitive loops and transition smoothly into rest.
It is a profound reminder of the immense value of experiencing your life, truly experiencing the physical reality of it step by step.
It really is.
As we gently bring this deep dive to a close, we want to leave you with one final, lingering thought.
A practical application for you to explore in the quiet moments of your own day.
Building directly on Thomas and Laura's evening habit, think about the day you have experienced so far, the things you have seen, the pressures you have felt, the specific sensory details around you. If you had to open a small notebook right now and summarize the entirety of your day in exactly one short sentence, what would that sentence be?